On April the 12th this year, a council workman was wounded by shotgun pellets whilst lopping down a black poplar tree in the garden of Mrs. Pauline Tressman. She, until this moment, has lived a totally blameless life, but she is now charged with causing grievous bodily harm and with attempted murder.
You are Graham McKellar of 21 Down Street, Fulchester, and you're employed by the Fulchester Council in the Parks Department.
I am.
Now, what is your work, Mr. McKellar?
I'm foreman of the tree gang.
Yes, and what does that involve?
Well, we look after all the trees for the council, trimming, planting, all that sort of thing.
Yes, not just in the parks, but on the public highways too.
Aye, and in private gardens, if they've got a preservation order on them.
Yes, that's an order under the Town and Country Planning Act of 1962. And your job is also, of course, the removal of trees when that becomes necessary for planning purposes.
Yes.
Now, will you describe the events that took place on Thursday, the 12th of April, 1973?
Well, me and the gang were out on a job. We had to take down a black poplar tree in the front garden of 17 Maybridge Avenue.
Yes, now, would this tree have a preservation order on it?
Oh, aye. But it had been overridden by order of the council. Otherwise, we couldn't have touched it.
Yes, but you had clear instructions to remove that tree.
Aye, in my hand. Signed by Mr. Jelliffe of the local planning authority.
Let's go on.
Well, we got there about 8:30. It was a big tree, an all-day job. But we hadn't even started taking the tools out of the van when that lady ran out of the house and started waving her arms about and screaming.
Yes, by that lady you mean Mrs. Tressman, the accused.
Aye, her. She started crying that we hadn't to touch the tree as it had a preservation order on it. Well, I showed her my orders. Then she said that had all been changed. She'd spoken to Mr. Jelliffe and that she was getting an injunction and she had a letter from the minister and I don't know what else.
Yes, but she did mention getting an injunction.
Oh, aye. She said it was going to the House of Lords. If we touched the tree, it would be treason or something. She was very excited.
Yes. So you ignored Mrs. Tressman's statements about getting an injunction and her other statements?
Aye, well, we knew it was all blether. We'd been told she'd try anything on. She'd been causing trouble for months.
Yeah, well, yes, but we only want to know what you actually saw. So you had this altercation with the accused in the garden and you refused to stop work. What then?
Well, then she went back into the house and we started getting out the rest of the gear.
Yes, I'm sorry, I should have asked you this before. How many were there of you in the tree gang?
Three, sir. My three mates and myself.
And these were?
That's George Turner, Harry Steen and Eddie Monaghan. He's the apprentice.
Yes, a close-knit team, I imagine. You all knew and liked each other well.
Oh, aye. You have to. It's a skilled job and dangerous sometimes. You have to work together like a circus act.
Yes, and on this occasion dangerous in an unexpected way.
It certainly was.
You got on with the job, and what then?
Well, then she came out of the house again carrying a jug of tea. Well, we didn't say no to that. But then she started in again saying that it was all right, we could stop work, that she'd been on to the mayor, who was a personal friend, and he was going to talk to Mr. Jelliffe. So I says to her, well, when the mayor comes down here and tells me to stop, I'll stop. Then she said what was more important, big lorries trundling through and polluting everything, or the tree. She said it had been there 100 years and had more right there than any of us. Well, you get that sort of thing, you just learn to ignore it. So we started setting up the ladder and George went up and slung the rope for the saw.
And Mrs. Tressman?
Oh, it was terrible, sir. She started pulling at the men and screaming. People passing were stopping. The men working down the road were turning around and looking to see what was going on. They could hear her 100 yards away. I says to her, aren't you ashamed, a lady, making an exhibition of yourself? I said, we're going to plant you another tree further back. But no, she carried on. She took the hold of Harry and then started trying to get the saw away from him. He was hitching it to the rope. So I had to pull her away. I said, if you go on like that, I'll get the police. Then she screams back, I'll kill anybody who touches that tree. And then
I'm sorry, you're quite certain she used those words, I'll kill anybody who touches that tree?
Oh, aye, she said that.
Yes, do you think she meant it?
Well, I do now.
Yes, and with some justification. But at that time, did she say it in a manner that made you think she meant it?
Well, she just said it, sir. I take no more notice of that than the rest. I wish I had now. I just turned my back and helped George fetch up the saw and get started on the main branch. Yes. Then Harry shouts out.
Yeah, just a moment. For the moment you had turned your back on Mrs. Tressman to the moment that Mr. Turner started cutting, how long would that be?
Oh, I couldn't say, sir. When you're on a job...
Yes, I mean, a minute, 2 minutes?
Well, it couldn't have been more.
Yes. And what then?
Well, then Harry shouts out, "Christ, she's got a bloody gun!" And oh, I beg your pardon, my lord.
If those were his words, Mr. McKellar, those were his words. But let me remind the public that this is no laughing matter.
And did the accused, in fact, have a gun?
Did she? She was standing at the window and waving it about and shouting, "Get away, get away."
Who was this addressed to?
To all of us.
Yes, not just to Mr. Turner.
Oh, no, he was up the tree. He couldn't do anything. So I shouted, "Get the police, get the police." And then I called on George to come down. But he just gawped. He was stuck up there on the crook of the branch.
Yes, and where were the others?
Well, they'd run out in the road behind the wall. I was standing like a fool in the open, shouting on George. Well, I don't know how long that bit lasted, but the next thing was the panda car pulling up and the officer jumping out. So I shouted to him, and just as he ran up, I heard a shot. And I swung round, and there she was, standing at the window with smoke coming out of the gun. And then I looked round, and there was George. He was hanging onto the tree. So I didn't worry about anything else. I just called the lads, and I'd started to get George down. He was bleeding, you see. Well, we were doing that when the officer ran out of the house carrying the gun. So I shouted to him, "Get a doctor." And, well, we were looking after George when the ambulance came up. I went with him to the hospital, and then on the way there...
Yes, thank you, Mr. McKellar.
Mr. McKellar, you say that when Mrs. Tressman appeared at the window for the second time, she was waving a gun.
Yes.
Not pointing it.
Well...
Well, waving isn't pointing, is it? What exactly was she doing?
Well, she was going like...
Perhaps you'd show the jaw of the action. As if waving somebody away.
Yes.
And, in fact, she was shouting, "Get away, get away."
Yes.
And definitely not still pointing it.
Well, I wasn't watching that all the time.
Indeed you weren't, Mr. McKellar. You've told us that in the few seconds before the shot was fired, you were looking towards the constable who was running towards the scene.
Yes.
So that you didn't see where the gun was pointing in the moment before it was fired. It could have been down at the ground or up at the sky.
I know where the gun was pointing when it was fired.
No, you don't, Mr. McKellar, but we'll come to that later.
So I'm not sure that I understand your point, Mr. Fry. You're not disputing that the pellets from this gun hit Mr. Turner.
Indeed not, my lord, but it was a shotgun, not a rifle. It could have hit without being aimed accurately.
You are calling expert evidence on this point, Mr. Parsons?
Yes, of course, my lord.
Now, you say that the other two men were down on the ground taking cover behind the wall.
Yes.
So that naturally they didn't see what Mrs. Tressman was doing with the gun at the moment of the firing.
No.
Mr. Parsons, you are not calling these two other men or Mr. Turner?
Well, I didn't think it was necessary to establish where the gun was pointing, my lord, as the shot from it so evidently hit Mr. Turner.
This tree, Mr. McKellar, was a poplar.
No, it wasn't.
But I thought you said...
Oh, no, it's a black poplar.
Oh, I see. Perhaps you would tell the court the difference.
Well, poplar is your usual Lombardy poplar, straight and thin. You get them all over. But a black poplar is a different thing altogether. It's a great spreading tree.
Was it damaged or diseased in any way?
No, it was a healthy tree.
So it could have gone on for how long?
Oh, well, you get some nearly 400 years old.
And this was one just in its prime?
Aye. A good tree, very well formed, just coming into green.
Just coming into green. Thank you, Mr. McKellar.
I didn't like to see it cut down.
I imagine not. Thank you.
No re-examination, my lord.
You may go, Mr. Keller.
You are Constable Alan Pringle, number Y837, attached to Fulchester Police Station.
Yes, sir.
And you were on duty on the morning of Thursday, 12th of April, 1973. Would you describe the events you witnessed in relation to this case? I don't think my learned friend would object to you refreshing your memory.
Oh, thank you, sir. On Thursday, the 12th of April, 1973, at approximately 9:15 a.m., I'm proceeding in a patrol car down Clarence Avenue in the direction of Maybridge Avenue. My attention was drawn to one of the roadmen working there who came running to me and shouted, Maybridge Avenue's been widened, sir.
Yes, we know that.
Well, he shouted, someone's murdering someone up there, and he pointed to the left, but I didn't take it seriously.
Why not?
Oh, he was laughing, sir. But I drove into Maybridge Avenue and I saw a van parked outside a house and some tree fellas. Oh, I mean men who fell trees, my lord.
Yes, I understand you, Constable.
A man who I now know to be Mr. McKellar was shouting and waving. I couldn't see what it was about, so I got out of the car and ran towards him. He was in the front garden. And as I went through the gate, I heard a shot. And I looked up and I saw a woman in a first-floor window with a gun in her hand and smoke coming out from the barrel. Or somebody shouted something like she's hit Georgie, and I ran straight in the house. I found the door open, and I ran up the stairs to where I thought the woman might be, and I found her in the front bedroom at a window.
Yes, the woman you saw in the room, do you see her here in court?
Oh, yes, sir, it's it's the accused.
Yes. Go on.
Well, I shouted, drop that, and she turned to me. She'd been looking out of the window.
Yes, she still had the gun in her hand?
Yes, sir. I approached her and I took up the gun and I broke it open and a used cartridge popped out and went onto the floor. And later I found a box of cartridges there.
Yes. Just a minute. Do you produce the gun, the spent cartridges, and the box of unused cartridges?
Oh, yes.
Exhibits 1, 2, and 3. Perhaps the usher could show the exhibits to the witness, my lord. Now, are those the gun you took away, the spent cartridge, and the box of cartridges you found later?
Well, it was an Elphick 12-bore exactly like this one.
Yes. I commend your precision, Constable, but is that, in fact, not the gun?
Well,
My lord, if my learned friend will forgive me, it will save time now and later if I say that Exhibit 1, we agree, is the gun that caused the wounding of Mr. Turner, and that it was fired by Mrs. Tressman.
Now, to return to your first entry into the house, Constable, after you picked up the gun, what happened?
well, I said to the Mrs. Tressman, the accused, I said, did you fire that? And she didn't answer, so I thought I'd better go downstairs and report the incident.
With the gun?
Oh, yes, I took that with me. And outside, I saw them getting the man who had been shot out of the tree. So I first rang through for an ambulance, and then I got through to the station and reported the incident, asked them to send a squad car. And then I locked the gun in the car boot and went back upstairs to where the accused was. She was sitting on the bed. And I stayed there until the squad car arrived with the CID officers, and they took her away.
Yes, thank you.
Constable, when you first burst in upon Mrs. Tressman in her bedroom...
My lord, the witness did not say burst in.
I have ran in, Mr. Fry.
Well, I did sort of burst in, my lord. There was someone firing a gun.
I see. Thank you.
When you entered the room, then, you say Mrs. Tressman wasn't facing you at first.
Oh, no, sir. She was looking out of the window.
But then she turned towards you.
Yeah.
What was her manner? How did she seem to you? Her expression? Was she sad, angry, confused?
Oh, my lord, how can the witness have any idea the accused's emotional state?
I was distinctly asking about her behaviour.
Not very distinctly, Mr. Fry.
Thank you, my lord.
Constable, you came into the room, and she turned to you. What was the expression on her face? Was she smiling, frowning, crying?
Well, like nothing, really.
Nothing. Stunned.
Mr. Fry.
My lord, this officer is a very brave, able, and observant man, but he does have a limited vocabulary. I'm trying to help, and I submit that it is quite admissible for me to ask if she appeared stunned.
Now, perhaps blank would be a more legitimate word. Did the accused look blank?
Well, not exactly.
Look at the accused now.
Yeah, just like that.
Well, after that, you spoke to her. You said, did you fire that? And she made no reply.
No, sir.
Didn't she seem to hear? I said seem.
Well, I don't know. She didn't say anything.
And then you were occupied in picking out the gun, going for help and so on and so forth, and you returned to the bedroom to find Mrs. Tressman sitting on the bed. How did she seem then?
Oh, she was crying.
Hysterical?
Oh, no, she was just sitting there, not moving, crying.
Did you address her again?
Oh, well, I told her she'd have to come down to the station.
Did she reply?
No.
She said nothing.
Well, not exactly.
And what does that mean, Constable?
Well, she said something I couldn't quite make out what it was. Something like love and lovely and killing.
Lovely. Lovely things, perhaps? Killing the lovely things.
Oh, I couldn't say.
But something about love and killing. Thank you, Constable.
No further questions, my lord.
You may go, and I hope your superiors have taken note of your excellent behaviour in this matter.
Oh, thank you, sir.
You are Dr. Reginald Thursley of Flat 3, Jordan Court, Shirley Road, Fulchester, and also resident registrar at Penter's Memorial Hospital, Fulchester.
Yes.
Now, on Thursday, April the 12th this year, did you operate on a Mr. George Turner?
Yes, for the removal of shotgun pellets.
Yes. Would you describe the position and nature of his wounds?
Yes. I found 4 pellets, 2 in the right buttock, not deeply. One lower down that had entered the thigh slantwise and caused a lot of superficial bleeding. Again, not serious. Jolly painful, though.
Yes. What position would Mr. Turner have to be in to receive such wounds?
I judged it was because he was up a tree with his right leg bent up.
Yes, yes. And the 4th pellet?
Oh, that was the most serious. It had entered the pelvis just above the pelvis, where there's no protection by the trousers. Just a thin singlet. And it had penetrated about 1/5 of an inch. Just an inch to the right of the lumbosacral vertebra.
Yes, so they all grouped within 12 inches of each other?
About that, yes.
Yes. Now, the one you say was most serious...
No.
I'm sorry, the most serious. Why was that?
Well, it was near the spine. Also, I had to dig for it. One is always very careful when exploring near the spine.
Yes. And if it had hit the spine...
Oh, that would have been most serious. I think Mr. Turner was very lucky.
Yes, I'm sure we can all agree with that. Thank you, Dr. Thursley.
No questions, my lord? Oh, yes, just one, Doctor. How long did Mr. Turner stay in hospital?
He didn't. He went home.
He went home?
Yes.
Have you seen him since?
Well, as a matter of fact, yes. He was lopping a tree in my road.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Dr. Thursley.
My lord, I'm afraid I'm in some embarrassment. I was hoping to call Mr. Butters.
This is the Home Office expert.
Yes, he was coming up from Stonebridge and chose perhaps unwisely to come by motor car. He telephoned to say he's had a slight accident and will be here in about 40 minutes.
I don't want to adjourn. Is this the last witness that you're calling?
Yes, and he is rather an important one, my lord.
Would the defence have any objection to this witness being heard after the defence examination?
It's unfortunate, my lord, but rather than have Mrs. Tressman submit to the agony of further delay...
Yes, indeed. We'll take Mr. Butters later.
Very well, my lord.
Now, the prosecution case is incomplete at the moment, and you must bear in mind that there is still one more prosecution witness to hear. Now, this is very unusual, but I'm only doing it because this witness is an expert witness and not a witness for fact. And, of course, because the defence have no objection. Very well.
And my lord, the first witness for the defence is the accused, Pauline Edith Tressman.
Mrs. Tressman, will you please go into the box?
What is your religion?
Church of England.
Take the testament in your right hand and read aloud the words on the card.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Mrs. Tressman, are you unwell?
No.
Then you must try to speak up so that the jury may hear you.
Yes, my lord.
Provide Mrs. Tressman with a glass of water, would you?
No, I don't need... Oh, thank you.
You are Pauline Edith Tressman of 17 Mayridge Avenue, Fulchester?
Yes.
You are married and living with your husband?
Yes.
What is your husband's occupation, Mrs. Tressman?
He deals in books.
I think you mean rare books, don't you? He's an antiquarian bookseller?
Yes.
How old are you, Mrs. Tressman?
I'm 53.
Have you any children?
Yes, my son and daughter.
Is either of them married?
My daughter.
Has she any children?
No.
Do you have any other occupation, I mean, apart from housekeeping?
No. That is, I sometimes help my husband with cataloguing and books and
He pays
letters.
you for that?
Yes, a little. It's for the income tax, really.
When were you married, Mrs. Tressman?
1942.
And how long have you been living in your present home, 17 Maybridge Avenue?
Since 1950. We bought it in 1950.
23 years. May I ask what made you choose it?
Well, we needed a large house. There were the children, and my husband needed a lot of room for his books.
He conducts his business from home.
Yes.
Were there any other reasons why you were attracted to it?
Well, it had a lovely garden with big trees, and in the front it was a very nice neighborhood then.
You were very happy there for many years.
Yes.
But recently that changed, didn't it?
Well, it was the traffic. It used to be so quiet, and they started coming through the cars and the lorries, the big lorries.
All that got on your nerves?
Well, I couldn't sleep properly.
And that's been going on for how long?
Well, since it started, since the traffic, since they built the motor road.
The motorway link? That's 3 years.
Yeah. It's been terrible. I couldn't sleep. I felt ill and...
Did you do anything about it?
Well, I joined the association. The residents have an association.
Yes, I'm sorry. I meant about the insomnia.
Oh. Well, the doctor gave me some pills.
Did they help?
Oh, yes. I don't know. They upset me.
You were in a badly nervous state.
It's what I've told you. It was the traffic. I can't stand noise.
Did you take any other medical advice?
No.
None?
Well, I saw a nerve specialist.
A nerve specialist? Do you mean a psychiatrist?
I don't know what they call them.
Did the treatment help?
Well, it was a waste of time. It was just talk. She couldn't do anything about the noise, could it? And then they started on the rows and the cutting and the killing.
Are you unwell, Mrs. Tressman? I could adjourn for a while.
No, I'm all right. I'm all right. I'm all right, thank you.
Does your husband's work take him much from home, Mrs. Tressman?
Yes. He's always travelling to book auctions and to customers, valuing collections.
Does your son live with you?
No, he's in Dublin. He's at the university. Oh, yes. We keep a room for when he comes home on holidays.
What does your son do?
Well, he's a lecturer, a biologist.
Yes, and your daughter, of course, is married and lives away.
Yes, in Canada.
But she used to live near you, didn't she? She and her husband?
Yes, quite near. Then they moved to Toronto.
When was this?
About a year ago.
So you're very much on your own in the house?
Yes.
Mrs. Tressman, you said a few moments ago that you had no grandchildren, but that isn't quite so, is it?
Well, I don't know what you mean. There aren't.
But there was a child.
Why do you keep going on? It's got nothing to do with it. I tell you, why do you keep going on?
I don't think you could call me impatient, Mr. Fry, but I must know to what you are leading. You seem to me to be distressing your own client without introducing anything relevant.
And all this evidence is relevant. I think at this point I should explain that my case is that Mrs. Tressman's actions, on which the charges of intended grievous bodily harm and attempted murder are based, were performed while she was in a highly nervous state, and for that reason not entirely responsible for her actions.
You are putting forward a defence of automatism.
I'm not mad! I'm not mad, if that's what you're trying to make out.
The case of the Queen against Tressman will be resumed tomorrow in the Crown Court. When workmen came to cut down a fine black poplar tree that stood at the end of her front garden, Pauline Tressman took a shotgun and brandished it from her bedroom window. During the scene, the gun went off, wounding one of the men, and Mrs. Tressman, 53, a respectable housewife and mother, was charged with discharging a firearm, with causing grievous bodily harm, and with attempted murder. Her counsel, against Mrs. Tressman's will, is putting forward a plea of automatism, that the accused was in a disturbed mental state which made her not responsible for her actions. The trial continues with Mrs. Tressman's examination by her counsel.
Mrs. Tressman, I'm going to ask you now to tell us in your own words what happened on the morning of the 12th of April 1973 from the first moment that the tree-felling gang arrived outside your house.
I saw them coming. I was watching from the window.
You were alone in the house?
Yes. My husband was in Amsterdam. There was a book exhibition.
But it was 8:30 in the morning, so you were up and dressed.
Oh, yes, I was expecting them. We'd had a letter from the council saying they were coming to cut down the tree.
Please go on.
Well, I saw them getting their things out of the van, and I went down and spoke to the man who was the foreman. I said they mustn't touch the tree. It was protected.
But you knew this was not the case.
Well, it was. My husband had written to the ministry, and we had a letter saying that it was being considered.
The ministry? Do you mean the Department of the Environment?
Yes.
And what exactly did the letter from the department say?
Well, it said my husband's letter would be put before the minister.
Please go on. I'll try not to interrupt.
Well, I told the foreman this, but he wouldn't take any notice. He kept waving a piece of paper in my face, and he said he'd had his orders. I went back into the house to try to telephone the council, but no one was there. And when I came out again, they were putting up the ladder, and they'd got out their saws and their axes. Oh, I brought some tea. I thought while they were having that, they couldn't be working, and I could phone the council. But he set them to work, and one of them climbed up the ladder.
This was Mr. Turner, the man who was wounded.
I don't know. Yes, it was. I kept telling them that they mustn't destroy the tree, but they took no notice, and one of them started tying the saw to a rope, and I tried to pull it away from him, but the foreman pushed me off. There. I went back into the house.
Yes, I'm sorry, I shall have to break in upon you there. The witness, Mr. McKellar, has stated, and the prosecution will certainly remind you of it, that while you were still in the garden arguing with the men, you used the words, "I'll kill anybody who touches that tree."
But I don't remember.
Well, Mrs. Tressman, you're on oath, and one of the charges you're facing is that of attempted murder. So I'm going to ask you now, did you in fact use those words, "I'll kill anybody who touches that tree"?
Well, how can I remember? I was too upset.
Did you use any words like them?
I don't know. I may have.
Don't kill that tree, perhaps, or it'll kill me if you harm the tree.
They can't have that.
No, indeed. You are blatantly leading the witness, Mr. Fry.
I'm sorry, my lord.
That is the second time. Kindly stop it.
Yes, of course, my lord. Mrs. Tressman, did you use the word kill in any context?
Well, I don't know. If he says... Well, I may have. I could have said anything just to stop them.
Did you intend to kill anybody?
No.
Or to hurt anybody?
No. Unless it were myself.
Yourself?
Now, just a moment, Mr. Fry. You are raising the question of intention, but your defence is one of automatism, and that implies that the accused did not know what she was doing. She cannot at one and the same time say, "I do not know what I am doing," and "I did not intend to do it."
Lord, of course, your lordship is right. If one assumes that the state of automatism prevailed from the first moment that the events the accused is describing took place. I want to suggest, however, that it grew upon her as her desperation grew.
Very well.
Now, Mrs. Tressman, we're at the point where you went back into the house, having failed to persuade the workmen to stop. What did you do then?
I thought if I could make them see how important it was, or if I could make them stop just for a while so that I could get the council. I even thought of doing something to myself. Jumping out of the window, they'd have to stop. And then I thought of the gun. I went into my son's room and I got it out.
May I stop you there? You've told us that your son lives in Dublin, but that you kept his room on, presumably with all his possessions.
Yes, he's only got digs.
And the gun was among these. It belongs to him.
Yes.
Where was it kept?
Well, in the cupboard, in a canvas bag.
Along with the ammunition it uses?
Yes, that was in a box. That box.
Now, you say you got the gun out. What then?
Well, I put in one of the cartridges.
Why did you do that? Lord, I bear in mind what you said. I'll reframe the question.
I suggest you do, Mr. Fry.
Mrs. Tressman, can you remember what was passing through your mind at the time?
I thought if I made a noise so they'd hear, they might think I'd hurt myself. I even thought of that.
Of doing yourself an injury?
Well, a wound can heal up, the tree couldn't.
Go on, please.
Well, I went into the bedroom. I thought if I fired it in there, they would hear better. I was holding it, the gun, when the saw started. I could hear the saw. It was buzzing. It started cutting. I could hear it going into the tree. It was like someone screaming. I went to the window, and the man was in the tree cutting the branch. I called out for him to stop, for him to go away, for them all to go away. But he didn't hear. He wouldn't stop. And the cutting, I had to make him hear. I meant to fire into the ground, not into the air. I thought it might hurt somebody. And it went off. And the noise stopped.
Lord, do you think we might adjourn for a few minutes?
Yes, indeed, if that's agreeable to you.
No,
Mr.
please. I'm all right, really. I want to go on. I'm sorry.
Very well.
Well, Mrs. Tressman, it was 3 years ago, in July 1970, that the residents of Maybridge Avenue first got together an association to do something about the growing menace of through traffic in the road.
Yes, I joined it.
When did you join it?
Oh, I don't remember. When I was asked.
But wasn't it, in fact, in May 1972, nearly 2 years after the association was formed?
I don't know. It may have been.
Well, now, at the beginning of 1972, you've told us you couldn't sleep and you felt ill. Didn't you, in fact, have a nervous breakdown?
They call it that. I wasn't well. The pills were upsetting me and the noise.
But you did, on March the 3rd, 1972, consult a psychiatrist.
You keep going back to that. My husband wanted me to. I did it for his sake.
You went a number of times.
Well, I stopped it. It was no point. She couldn't do anything about the noise, could she?
Mrs. Tressman, I have to ask you this. You've said that you have no grandchildren, but that is not strictly true, is it?
I won't answer that question. It's got nothing to do with it.
Very well, I won't pursue that. It was in May 1972, then, that you joined the Residents' Association.
Yes. I've told you already because of the noise and the danger.
Which had been building up for 2 years. Was it not towards the end of April, however, that the council first announced its intention to widen Maybridge Avenue?
I don't remember. It may have been.
Well, you knew that the scheme meant the destruction of the trees in the road.
Oh, yes, we all did.
Including the tree in your front garden.
Yes, but it was all the trees.
You at once became a very active member of the association.
Well, we had to save the trees. They were going to cut them down.
And this very deeply disturbed you.
It was why we came to live there, because of the beautiful trees.
And of your tree in particular, the black poplar, which was one of the most beautiful.
It was a lovely tree. And they cut it down. They killed it.
Mrs. Tressman, it's going to be put to you that in order to save that tree from destruction, you took and loaded that gun and fired it at one of the men who was involved in the destruction of the tree with the intent to injure, with the attempt to murder. Is that true?
No. No.
You did, in fact, load and fire that gun. Were you, in fact, aware of what you were doing?
I don't know. I don't know. I had to stop him. I had to. Don't you see he was killing something living and beautiful?
But, Mrs. Tressman, wasn't the life you were really trying to save already dead?
I don't know what you mean.
Thank you, that's all.
Mrs. Tressman, I hope not to distress you with my questions. Though I certainly don't want you to fear that I'm implying that you are in any way mentally unwell. Now, I want first to recall the altercation that took place in your front garden between yourself and Mr. McKellar, the foreman of the tree gang. Now, Mr. McKellar states that you used the words, "I'll kill anybody who touches that tree." Now, Mr. McKellar made that statement on oath, and you are on oath. Did you, in fact, use those words, "I'll kill anybody who touches that tree"?
I don't know. I've already told you.
Never mind what you've already said. Please answer my question.
How can I? I can't remember what I did. I was too upset.
Well, not too upset to make a cup of tea for the workmen, or to make up a lie about securing an injunction to save the tree.
Well, I just said that.
Yes, you did. Are you capable of lying, then?
Mr. Parsons, most people are capable of that.
Yes, I'm sorry to have to press the accused, my lord, but the question of what the accused said is central to the question of intent.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in speaking of the cutting down of these trees, you've repeatedly used the word killing.
Well, yes, it was what they were doing.
Yes, you have strong feelings about the destruction of living things.
Yes.
And having those feelings, you surely must remember using the word kill.
Yes, I may have.
Yes, I'll kill anybody who touches that tree.
Yes, but I didn't mean it. I was upset you say things like that.
Yes. Have you ever used such a threat before in your life, a threat to kill?
Well, how can I remember? I may have as a girl, jokingly, but you never mean it.
Yes, but I put it to you that on this occasion, when you were deeply moved by the imminent threat to the tree, that you did use it and did mean it.
Oh, no, I keep telling you I may have said it, but I didn't mean it. I couldn't.
Mrs. Tressman, that will be for the jury to decide. Mrs. Tressman, still in the altercation in the garden, and having used the words, as you at last admit, "I'll kill anybody who touches that tree," you then made a physical attempt to wrest the saw from one of the workmen. And when that failed, you went into the house and straight to your son's room.
You said straight. I don't know whether I...
Well, are you suggesting you walked around the house, made some more tea, perhaps?
I can't remember what I did. I was upset.
Well, let's see. We know that Mr. Turner was already hauling the saw into position when you were still in the garden, and that he had only just started cutting when you came to the window holding the gun. Therefore, I put it to you that you must have gone straight to your son's room and taken out the gun.
Oh, suppose I did what you say.
Yes, indeed you did. You took the gun from your son's cupboard, knowing it to be a weapon that could kill a man.
No, I didn't know. I didn't know about that.
Well, it was a 12-bore shotgun. Are you saying you didn't know what it could do?
Well, I knew it was dangerous, but I thought it was...
A lethal weapon?
No.
Are you saying you are unfamiliar with shotguns?
But...
Well, let us consider the matter. Now, you say this gun belongs to your son. It's quite an old gun. Did he buy it?
No, it belonged to my father. He gave it to Juliet, to my son, as a present on his 18th birthday.
Yes, where were you born, Mrs. Tressman?
Llandagan, Montgomeryshire.
And what was your father?
He was a rector of the church there.
Yes. And a landowner with a farm and quite extensive property?
Yes.
Over which he used to shoot with his gun?
Yes.
Did he ever take you with him when he went shooting?
Yes.
Did he teach you how to use the gun, how to shoot?
Yes, but it was a long time ago.
Yes, but surely he must have warned you it was a dangerous weapon and could easily kill someone with it.
He may have done. I've forgotten. I never learned to use it properly.
Yes. And at least you knew how to load it.
Well, I told you I only wanted to make a noise.
Did you think the cartridges were blank?
No. I knew they were real.
Yes, indeed you did. Because you say, with what credibility I leave to the jury, that you even thought of discharging the gun so as to hurt yourself.
Yes, I did. I meant to.
Yes, but evidently you changed your mind as soon as you got into the bedroom.
Well, I told you I heard the noise of the saw.
Yes, you heard the sound of the saw starting up and the sound of it cutting into the tree, and you tell us that another intention came to you, to take the gun to the window and wave it at the workmen.
No, just to shout at them to make them stop.
But you were holding the gun.
Yes.
How? In one hand or two?
In both hands.
By the barrel and the stock?
Yes, I suppose I must.
With your lordship's permission, I would like the accused to demonstrate that.
Yes, if you think it necessary.
It's unloaded, my lord, and the safety catch is on.
Very good. Give it to Mrs. Tressman.
Now, is that the way you were holding the gun at the window?
Yes.
And what did you do with it?
Well, I just held it.
But Mr. McKellar states that you were waving it. Do you accept that?
Yes, I suppose I do.
Then do so to the jury.
What?
I see. And at what point did you put your finger on the trigger?
I...
Now, Mrs. Tressman, you admitted firing this gun.
Yes, but I only meant to fire it into...
Never mind what your intentions were. You fired the gun.
Yes.
Therefore, your finger must have been on the trigger.
Yes.
Then put it there. Now, is that the way you held the gun, Mrs. Tressman? And the buzzing of the saw was still going on? You saw the man holding it, and the blade cutting into the tree, and you pulled the trigger?
No. I mean, yes, I must have. But I didn't mean to hit him. I meant to fire into the ground.
You already told us of 3 different intentions, Mrs. Tressman. 1, you meant to injure yourself. 2, you meant merely to make a noise with the gun. And 3, you meant to fire it into the ground. But I put it to you that from the moment you said, "I'll kill anybody who touches that tree," you went into the house, got out the gun, deliberately loaded it with a live cartridge, put it out of the window with your finger on the trigger. You had one intention, and one intention only, however strange and bizarre it may seem, and that was to hit the man who was killing your tree, to maim him, and if it should so fall out, to murder him.
I didn't. I had to stop him to make him hear. To stop the noise, the screaming.
Take Mrs. Tressman back to the dock.
I call Arnold Tressman.
My lord, if my learned friend will forgive me, my missing witness has arrived, Mr. Butters.
With your lordship's permission, I would prefer to conclude my evidence.
Yes, I think that is preferable, Mr. Parsons.
If your lordship pleases.
I call Arnold Tressman.
Arnold Tressman, please. Come this way, sir.
You are Arnold Tressman of 17 Maybridge Avenue, Fulchester,
Yes,
and you are the husband of the accused, Pauline Tressman.
yes,
Mr. Tressman, does your work often take you away from home?
yes.
And on the between the 10th and the 14th of April this year, were you in fact abroad?
Yes, in Amsterdam.
Lord, this witness was away at the relevant time, but I've called him to give testimony to Mrs. Tressman's mental and emotional state in the period prior to the events that form the substance of this case.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Mr. Tressman, you and your wife have been married for 31 years.
Yes.
And I believe very happily married.
Yes, yes.
In the last 18 months, has anything happened to disturb that relationship?
Not the relationship, no. My wife and I love each other very much.
But your happiness?
Yes.
Would you tell the court what that was?
I would prefer not. It's something we never speak about.
I'm sorry, Mr. Tressman, but I must ask you what it was. Was it, in fact, the death of your grandchild?
Yes.
Which occurred on the 24th of December, 1971. Now, I know this must cause you and Mrs. Tressman a great deal of distress, but I must ask you, how did it happen?
Well...
No, please, darling, don't talk about it. I don't want
Mrs.
it.
Tressman.
But I don't want it. I don't want him to talk about it. I have the right.
You must be quiet.
But
Now, you're facing a very serious charge. Your counsel is doing his best for you, and you must allow him to raise any matters that he considers necessary for your defence.
But
Now, I should be very reluctant to do it. But if there are any more interruptions, I shall have you sent below. Very well, Mr. Fry.
Not. Will you tell us then, Mr. Tressman, how the death of your grandchild occurred?
Well, it was Christmas Eve. My daughter and son-in-law were coming to stay with us with the baby, the little girl. They were coming by car. It was wet on the road. Another car was going very fast and skidded and couldn't stop and hit the car, their car. They say it was just an accident, the wet road.
And the baby?
And she was in my daughter's arms. They were both flung against the windscreen. The baby was killed.
How old was she?
11 months.
This tragedy had a terrible effect on both of you, of course, but I believe particularly so on Mrs. Tressman. How did this show itself?
Well, at first she was very brave. I thought too brave. It's better to let these things come out. But she said it was over. She didn't want to talk about it. She went on almost as if it hadn't happened. But then...
Her behavior changed.
Yes, she began to get easily upset with me and with all the books in the house. And, well, we even had quarrels for the very first time in our lives. At least I tried not to.
Did you realize it was because of her distress at the accident?
Of course, but my wife didn't. She said it was the traffic getting on her nerves.
Was she in the hands of her doctor?
Yes, he said it was a nervous breakdown. He advised her to see a specialist, a nerve specialist.
Did she do so?
She went to Dr. Ryden.
That is to Dr. Mary Ryden, the psychiatrist?
Yes.
Did she at this point join the Residents' Association?
She did more than that. She became the organizer. She formed an action committee.
It was just about to this point, wasn't it, at the end of April last year, that the council first announced its scheme for the road widening?
Yes, in April or May.
How did this affect Mrs. Tressman?
Well, it was a bombshell. And to me. They were going to make a trunk road through our road. They were going to cut down all the trees. I couldn't believe that they could do such a thing. It was a terrible blow.
And what did your wife do about it?
Well, I say, she formed an action committee. There were meetings every night. The house was covered with posters. She was out all the time, collecting signatures, getting up petitions. There were demonstrations.
In view of what she just suffered, didn't you think that this was bad for you? Didn't you try to stop her?
Well, I couldn't. It was like a frenzy.
A frenzy? Her behaviour wasn't normal in your eyes.
Well...
Didn't you link it in any way with her grief at the death of her grandchild?
Of course. Yeah. But I thought that perhaps in a way it might be a good thing for her to have something to occupy her. But I was wrong. It's my fault. I should have stopped her.
Mr. Tressman, you went abroad on the 10th of April. Yes. Did you know before you left that the workmen from the council would be coming on the 12th of April to cut down the tree and that you would not be there?
Yes. We had the letter.
You knew how deeply your wife felt about this.
Well, I wanted to stay.
Did she ask you to?
No. By then we'd had the letter from the Department of the Environment. She didn't think the council would be able to touch the tree.
But that letter only said that your letter would be placed before the minister. You must have known that it meant nothing.
Yes, but my wife didn't. She thought the tree was safe. She was happy. I couldn't tell her.
But believing that the tree was saved, it was bound to come as all the greater crushing shock when the workmen came 2 days later to kill it. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Tressman.
Mr. Tressman, I shan't keep you much longer. You've stated that on April the 12th, that you were abroad in Amsterdam.
Yes.
It is impossible for you to have any first-hand knowledge of what took place in your garden or in your house on that day.
No.
And that is all. Thank you.
You may leave the witness box.
Call Dr. Mary Ryden.
Dr. Mary Ryden, please.
No. No.
Mrs. Tressman.
I don't want Dr. Ryden called. I don't want this to go on. It's all lies. I want it stopped. I want to plead guilty.
The case of the Queen against Tressman will be resumed tomorrow in the Crown Court. When workmen came to cut down a fine black poplar tree that stood at the end of her front garden, Pauline Tressman took a shotgun and brandished it from her bedroom window. The gun went off, wounding one of the men, and Mrs. Tressman, aged 53, housewife and mother, found herself charged with discharging a firearm with intent to cause grievous bodily harm and with attempted murder. Her defence counsel has put forward a plea that the accused was in a disturbed mental state in which she was not responsible for her actions. But Mrs. Tressman, in an outburst in court, stated that she wished to change her plea to one of guilty. The court has reassembled after a short adjournment.
Lord, during the adjournment, I have conferred with Mrs. Tressman and my instructing solicitor. Mrs. Tressman now understands the position more clearly, and there is no question of her changing her plea to one of guilty.
I see, thank you. Now, Mrs. Tressman, I have been very patient with you, but I must warn you that if there are any other outbursts or interruptions, I shall have to send you below for the remainder of the trial. Now, do you understand? If there is anything you wish to say about the way your case is being conducted, do so quietly to your solicitor.
Yes, my lord.
Very well. Please continue, Mr. Fry.
Call Dr. Mary Ryden.
Dr. Mary Ryden, please.
You are Dr. Mary Ryden of the Dales, Melton-on-Clare.
Yes.
You're consultant psychiatrist at the Fulchester General Hospital.
Yes.
You're also professor of psychiatry at Northland University.
Assistant professor, not a full one.
I believe you've written a number of books on the subject.
Yes, 3.
And do you also have a private practice?
Yes, as a psychiatrist.
But you do have a full medical degree.
Yes, I am a doctor of medicine as well.
Where do you carry on your private practice?
Well, if it isn't advertising, 11 Park Crescent, Fulchester.
On March the 3rd, 1972, did the accused, Pauline Tressman, visit you for a consultation?
Yes, she came to me on the recommendation of her own doctor, Dr. Blagston. He had been treating her for insomnia and other physical symptoms, which he thought to be psychosomatic.
That is of a psychological origin?
Yes.
Did she subsequently visit you several more times?
Yes, 4 in all over a period till the beginning of April. She then broke off the treatment.
Over the period when you saw her, what opinion did you form of her condition?
She presented as a woman of 53 who was normally in very good health, but was now under severe emotional strain, which seemed to me perfectly compatible with the recent accidental death of her baby granddaughter. The insomnia, the acute restlessness, and abdominal distress could all be ascribed to the grief and shock of that loss, especially in a woman of her age.
Why, especially in a woman of her age?
Well, for a woman, the early 50s are often the time of the menopause, a time of emotional strain. At that age, her life seems arid. She fears becoming useless. She looks for substitutes on which to assert her desire for creativity. Women of that age often make devoted gardeners, or if they've been mothers, often very loving grandmothers. When Mrs. Tressman lost her only grandchild, she was deprived of that stay. The shock was tremendous.
To summarize, therefore, you formed the opinion that because of the death of her grandchild, she was under severe emotional strain.
Yes.
Now, Doctor, Mrs. Tressman last saw you in April. About a month later, the council first announced its scheme for the widening of the road in which Mrs. Tressman was living. Given your knowledge of her psychological condition, how do you think this would have affected her?
It would be very distressing.
I'm referring, of course, not so much to the widening of the road itself as to the entailed destruction of the trees.
Yes, it meant the destruction of life. The tree is a symbol of life, one of the most potent.
And when she knew that it meant the destruction of her tree...
Oh, that could be catastrophic. It was a tree in her own garden, a tree that she cherished. In a sense, the garden is herself, and the tree something beautiful and vital that sprang from it, something she created.
Isn't this all somewhat poetic and fanciful?
Yes, my lord, the psyche is a poet, not always a very good one.
Are you saying, Dr. Ryden, that Mrs. Tressman in some way identified this tree, this living tree, with her dead grandchild?
Yes, I believe that. On the deepest level, she had never accepted the little girl's death. It was this refusal that caused her breakdown. Now, in a sense, the child was being threatened all over again, and by the same agency that caused her death, the traffic, the motor cars.
Doctor, is it possible for people under severe emotional strain to suffer a lapse of awareness, so that although they can act and move, they really have no idea of what they're doing?
Oh, yes, that is quite possible.
From what you observed of Mrs. Tressman in the period leading up to the shooting, do you think it possible that she had reached a pitch where she suffered such a lapse of awareness?
Well, when I last saw her, she was in a disturbed state, yes. And in my opinion, any intensification of that state could have resulted in her being unaware of what she was doing for certain periods.
Thank you, Doctor.
Was Mrs. Tressman in good health physically?
Well, she is a slight woman, but as I say, generally in very good health. Her doctor, of course, had checked for the possibility of abdominal cancer, but a thorough examination had found nothing. And yet she had abdominal discomfort and swelling, and she was sick in the mornings.
What did that imply to you?
That she was experiencing the symptoms of pregnancy.
Pregnancy?
Oh, it wasn't a conscious act. Her only grandchild had been cruelly killed. I understand it was not thought possible for her daughter to have another child. Her son was not yet married. This phantom, unacknowledged pregnancy was a heroic effort of the psyche to deny death, to assert the continuance of life. She very simply wanted to replace the dead child.
I see. Thank you, Dr. Ryden. Mr. Parsons?
Dr. Ryden, you have resplendent qualifications, do you not?
I have qualifications.
It's like that we have to pay very close attention to any statement you may make, as, for example, when you say that Mrs. Tressman thought her granddaughter was a tree.
I said identified, and on an unconscious level.
Do you find Mrs. Tressman's actions and the motives that you ascribe to them perfectly comprehensible in terms of an intelligent and civilized person?
Oh, utterly. I see civilized persons all day long who do the strangest things.
Yes, so do I, Dr. Ryden. We call them crimes.
Chacun son métier.
I beg your pardon?
I said every man to his trade, Mr. Parsons.
Yes, quite. We've met before, have we not, Dr. Ryden? And I've always profited by it.
One can always learn something.
Now, you said that with the announcement of the road and the consequent tree cutting, in a sense, the child was threatened all over again, and by the same agency that had caused her death, the traffic, the motor cars.
Yes.
And as her efforts to fight that threat were frustrated, how would that have affected Mrs. Tressman?
Her actions would grow wilder.
Yes, her husband has used the word frenzy.
Oh, yes, I can understand that. As the workman moved up the road towards her house, it would be like a film in slow motion, reenacting the tragedy that had already happened. It would be agonizing, a nightmare.
Yes. Would it surprise you to know that Mrs. Tressman has strenuously denied any suggestion connecting the cutting down of the tree and her dead grandchild?
No, because to admit that would be to accept the death of the child, which inwardly she hadn't done. And she would also fear the suggestion of irrationality.
Yes, she'd be afraid to be thought mad.
Well, it arouses a most tremendous resistance and resentment.
Yes. In your opinion, is Mrs. Tressman, or has she ever been in any sense of the term mad?
No, most certainly not.
Thank you. Now, we know that on the day in question, Mrs. Tressman believed she had won the battle to save the tree, or at least a respite. Now, if she then discovered suddenly and brutally that in fact she had lost, and the tree was to be cut down that day, what effect would that have on her?
She would be passionately moved and very disturbed.
Mentally disturbed?
Yes, for a short time.
Yes, she identified what had happened to the child with what was about to happen to the tree.
Yes, it was the killing of the child all over again.
Yes, in slow motion, as you so graphically put it, so that this provided an intense stimulus to action, far greater than if it had been a question of saving the tree qua tree.
Yes.
Yes. In fact, deep in her mind, a life was being threatened, a beloved human life, and she had to do everything she could to prevent it.
Not everything. There are certain things she couldn't do.
Yes, but you said at length, and if I may say so very convincingly, she identified at a deep level the threatened tree and the dead child, someone she loved. Now, to save that, she could intend to kill and could kill.
No. Intend, perhaps, but never kill. It would be utterly impossible for her.
Now, why, Dr. Ryden?
Well, it's a question of her personality.
Yes, over which you studied over 4 meetings with her.
Well, it was enough. It happens to be my...
Trade? Yes. Now, how long did these sessions last for?
Half an hour, the last one less.
Yes, so there was something under 2 hours.
And how long have you spent with Mrs. Tressman?
Dr. Ryden, that is not a proper remark.
I beg your pardon, my lord. I'm sorry, Mr. Parsons.
Please. And in that short time, Dr. Ryden, you came to the precise professional conclusion that it would be impossible for Mrs. Tressman to do an act of violence against another person.
Yes.
Now, what led you to that?
Well, she's a very loving person. Her whole nature is giving, loving, creating. She is also a woman of deeply felt religious principle. She could give her own life to save someone she loved, but not take another's. The prohibitions would be too great.
Yes, the prohibitions. I'm not quite sure of the use of that word.
Oh, I mean the powerful controls that are placed on all our actions, even our thoughts, by the unconscious.
Yes, but would these powerful controls not be operational, still be operational, at a moment when Mrs. Tressman was, say, mentally distraught, when she thought the tree cutter was in fact killing her grandchild?
Yes, I think so.
Yes, you think so. Now, you've told us that it's possible for a person under severe emotional strain for periods to be quite unaware of what's going on.
Yes.
You weren't in court when Mrs. Tressman gave her evidence, were you?
No, I wasn't.
No. Now, would a person in this state of unawareness be able, subsequently, to describe in detail what had happened during the period of unawareness?
No.
No. Mrs. Tressman did. In her evidence, she gave a precise account of everything that happened on the day of the shooting. She even told us what she intended to do with the gun.
Butters, I understand you were delayed in getting to court.
Yes, my lord, I had a car accident.
I hope it was nothing serious.
I'm obliged to your lordship. A fool of a car crossed me against the lights. I braked hard, the road was wet, and I skidded into him. He broke my radiator and offside headlamp, apart from the injury to my person.
Were you wearing your seatbelt?
Most certainly, my lord. Otherwise my injuries would have been very much worse.
Very good, Mr. Butters. Are you feeling fit enough to give evidence?
Most certainly, my lord. I've been waiting an hour to do so.
Then I shall delay you no further, Mr. Butters.
Thank you, my lord. You are Mr. John Butters of 13 Crediton Park, Fulchester, and you are a firearms expert attached to the Home Office.
I am.
Could the witness be shown exhibits 1, 2, and 3, please? Thank you. Now, would you describe the exhibits, Mr. Butters?
Now, this is a 12-bore double-barreled shotgun by James Elphick. It's self-ejecting, that is, it automatically ejects the empty shell case after firing. From the series marking, this particular gun is about 50 years old. This is the kind of cartridge that it uses, number 5 standard shot. And this is an empty cartridge case. Now, to load the gun...
Yes, I was going to ask you to do that. Could you show the jury how it is done?
Not with a live cartridge, I trust.
I have brought a dummy, my lord. I brought it for the purpose.
So long as you're sure that it is a dummy.
Quite sure, my lord. The gun is broken. The round is installed in the breech, so, and the gun closed again. Normally in use, both barrels would be charged, because this gun is in fact 2 guns in one, both barrels being fired by 2 separate triggers. Now, the cartridge...
I'm sorry. Would you say it was a difficult matter to load the gun?
Perfectly simple, as I've just shown.
Yes, but one would need some knowledge of the gun.
Obviously.
Yes. Well, you were going to describe the cartridges.
Now, each cartridge contains approximately 230 small metal pellets. Now, when the gun is fired, bang, the pellets emerge and spread. This increases the chance of hitting whatever it is you want to hit.
Yes, and presumably the further off the target, the further they will spread.
That is simple geometry.
Mr. Butters, confine yourself to answering the questions without comment if you can.
My lord.
In other words, you don't have to be a very experienced shot to hit what you're aiming at.
That is so.
Yes. Now, would you say that this was a powerful weapon?
Oh, very. It's used by experienced sportsmen and gamekeepers, that sort of thing.
Yes, could it kill a man?
Oh, easily. At anything up to 25 yards range, depending on where it hit.
Obviously. Now, Mr. Butters, I believe you measured the distance from the bedroom window of number 17 Maybridge Avenue to the tree in which Mr. Turner was hit.
I'm afraid not.
I beg your pardon?
Well, there was no tree. There was a hole in the ground.
No, but you made a fairly accurate estimate.
I did. I judged the distance to be between 72 and 74 feet.
In other words, within the 25 yards lethal range of the gun.
Yes.
Now, apart from the loading, does this gun require any other special skill in its use?
No, it's just a question of firing it. None at all. Any fool can pull the trigger, and often does, more's the pity. But if you want to hit what you're aiming at, that calls for practice, especially if it's a snapshot. It's a question of the balance and the handling. That's the important thing.
Yes. Nevertheless, we've agreed that even an experienced shot could land some of the pellets of what he was aiming at. Now, Mr. Butters, I believe you've carried out some firing tests on this gun.
I have.
Yes, would you please describe your findings?
Now, from my examination of the gun, I found that the right-hand barrel had been fired. I loaded this with a cartridge from this box, and fired 3 test shots at a range of 25 yards distance. Now, these were for penetrating power using simulated flesh.
What is that exactly?
Well, in this particular case, my lord, a joint of lamb. A leg joint. Serves very well if it's fresh and not frozen. In other words, still bleeding.
Yes, go on, please.
I covered this with 2 fabrics to simulate the thin cotton vest such as the wounded man had worn, and a similar fabric plus a piece of corduroy to simulate the trousers and pants. Now, I found in the latter case that the pellets had penetrated up to their own depth, and in the former, they'd gone in up to 1/5 of an inch deeper.
This is about what you would expect.
Yes, average on a gun of this age and condition.
What was his condition?
Oh, averagely good. Had a lot of use. There's a lot of wear around the muzzle. Could have been cleaner. In the left-hand barrel, which hadn't been fired, there was a lot of dust and pieces of canvas fibre.
Yes, but in averagely good condition.
Oh, yes. Nice gun.
Please go on with your descriptions of the tests.
Now, the next series were for accuracy. Again at 25 yards range, and again it was as I expected. On a target area, 1 yard diameter...
Not of butcher's meat.
Oh, no, my lord. To justify the cost.
Yes, you were saying you found the accuracy normal.
Well, not at all, by no means. I said it was as I expected. On a target area, 1 yard diameter, one would normally expect to find the bulk of the shots to hit home. Now, in this case, I found on average 150 hits. That is less than 2/3.
But that doesn't sound too inaccurate. How far out did the rest fall?
Well, they all fell within a 2 yard diameter, and, as I suspected, somewhat irregularly. There was a tendency to clump to the left.
But none fell outside a 2 yard diameter?
I should hope not.
That's all.
Mr. Butters, this is very interesting. You say that the shot fell in an area twice as wide as normal and well to the left.
To the left.
How far?
Approximately 6 inches.
And I'm sure you aimed very accurately.
You may rely on that.
You also say that the shot fell irregularly. What does that mean?
Well, there's a small tendency for the outer shot to clump together.
So that there could have been as many as, say, 4 or 5 over an area of about a foot square and nearby none at all.
Well, not none, perhaps 1 or 2.
Mr. Butters, the barrel you tested had recently been fired by Mrs. Tressman, so that it was relatively clean of the dust and the fibres and so on that you mentioned.
Well, that is so.
So that when Mrs. Tressman used it, it could have been even more inaccurate.
Oh, that's unlikely.
Well, did you carry out any tests with the gun in the condition in which it would have been used by Mrs. Tressman by inserting dust and fibres and so on?
I did not.
So you've no idea how accurate the gun was when it was in Mrs. Tressman's hands?
Mr. Fry, I must stop you, and I shall have to tell the jury that the accuracy of the gun bears no relevance in a defence of automatism. Now, it might be relevant in a defence of accident if you were trying to show that Mrs. Tressman aimed at something and, owing to the inaccuracy of the gun, did not hit it. Now, is it your intention to change your defence to one of accident? Because if it is, Mr. Fry, then I shall have to rule out the entire evidence of Dr. Ryden and Mr. Tressman as irrelevant. Really, Mr. Fry, you cannot have it both ways.
No, my lord, the plea of automatism stands, and I have no further questions for this witness.
Mr. Butters, the tests that you carried out in this gun are the standard tests used in your laboratory.
Yes, sir.
Now, do they indicate to you that in the condition the gun was in when Mrs. Tressman fired it, it was reasonably accurate?
Oh, reasonably, given its wear.
Yes, so if the gun was fired at 25 yards range and 4 of the pellets hit within 12 inches of each other, the gun could not have been aimed further than 1 yard on either side of its target.
That is so.
In other words, a reasonably accurate shot.
Well, it's not a marksman shot.
Yes, but no one is contending that Mrs. Tressman was a marksman. Thank you, Mr. Butters.
You may stand down.
That concludes the case for the prosecution, my lord. May it please your lordship, members of the jury, let us look at the first charge against Mrs. Tressman.
As we have heard,
That she discharged a firearm,
Dr. Wright,
intent to cause...
it was in believing the tree to be her beloved but tragically dead grandchild that turned this genteel lady into a desperate killer. I put it to you that both charges are proved and ask you to return a verdict of guilty.
May it please your lordship, members of the jury, it is fully accepted on both sides that Mrs. Tressman did take and load and fire that gun from her bedroom window. But having seen her in the witness box, can you seriously believe...
And that she is innocent of the charges brought against her. I therefore ask you to return verdicts of not guilty.
Now, members of the jury, you have attended to a strange and often distressing case, and your most difficult task will be to guard against emotional bias. Now, you must set aside any feelings of gun she intended to cause Mr. Turner really serious harm. Then you will return a verdict of guilty of wounding with intent to cause grievous bodily harm. If you consider it established beyond all reasonable doubt that she intended to kill Mr. Turner, you will return a verdict of guilty of attempted murder. Now, if the prosecution have not satisfied you beyond all reasonable doubt that Mrs. Tressman had either of the intents they suggest, then you must acquit her on both charges. Now, members of the jury, will you kindly retire to consider your verdict?
All stand. Members of the jury, will your foreman please stand? Please answer this question, yes or no. Have you reached a verdict upon which you are all agreed?
We have.
On the first charge, do you find the accused, Pauline Edith Tressman, guilty or not guilty of wounding with intent to cause grievous bodily harm?
Not guilty.
On the second charge, do you find the accused, Pauline Edith Tressman, guilty or not guilty of attempted murder?
Not guilty.
Mrs. Tressman, you are free to go.
All stand.
Next week, a chance for you to join another jury when our cameras return to watch another trial in the Crown Court.